Okay, well, this video is going to be, I'm hoping it won't be too long, but I'm going to explain subnetting. Um, Subnetting is, to a lot of people that I've talked to in the network world, is one of those you don't get it, so you don't want to deal with it type of situations. But I've found subnetting to be actually really easy once I got the hang of it, and that was the thing, getting the hang of it. It's not a very difficult concept to understand, but as you can see, it's network requirements and find your range. What do you need? What do you need for your network or networks, depending on the situation, and how are you going to apply them? There's two different types of subnetting. There's classless, or I'm sorry, well, yeah, that is one too, but class full and classless. Now, here's the only caveat with this situation. The situation is this: with class full subnetting, you must use a class full routing protocol. So, like version 1, EIGRP, that's about it. So, class full subnetting is kind of a thing of the past. Um, it's still a very big way of doing things. That's how I learned how to subnet. Now, classless is still subnetting, but you're going to be able to fully utilize all of your subnet or all your IP addresses that you need for your networks without having to waste any because of the classful um, uh, pre the classful design. Classful design means once you figure out what your subnet mask is and you know your range to that subnet mask, that's all you're going to use. So whether it's a slash 26 for a 192 mask and you're going to be having 64 users, or you're going to have, you know, uh, 4 users per subnet and you're going to be doing a slash 30 with 2 usable subnet or 2 usable hosts. So point to point for the most part. So the point of this is to explain very quickly what class full subnetting is. Class full subnetting in a nutshell is you taking an IP range, so let's say the 192.168, I should have really written in the 10, 168.1.0/24. You take this and you break it down to 8 subnets. So you break down your 8 subnets, whatever they are, and then once you have those 8 subnets, you apply them to the networks they need to. That's it. Nothing more is done. Now, as an engineer, we take that same concept, and what we do is we run with it. Now, I typically like to do class full on when I do an enterprise. So, like for instance, if you have a company where they do, obviously they run a network, and they have, let's say, 6 branch offices across the country, and they've been given several public IP addresses to do their business with, so that customers can find them via web addresses and stuff like that. So your idea is going to be able to find class full to break down the bigger range, and then you're going to take classless and you're going to break them down inter-building. Meaning, if you have, let's say you have, we're going to draw this guy. You have a building here, you have a building here, you have a building here. Notice how they're all different sizes. So you have 4 buildings. This one's got 50 users, this one's got 20, this one's got 100, this one's got 60. So you take each one of these and you break them down based on how many users are going to be working in each building. Class full, you would find out what the biggest one is, and then you would run with that. So obviously, the smaller the building, the more unused subnet or IP addresses you're going to have. But typically, you're going to assign an entire area enough subnets to cover for some future growth. You're not going to want to have it so that you're going to have 29 users and you're going to give them a slash, or you're going to give them a slash 27, which is 32 users per subnet, and they only have room for growth for one, and then they have to resubnet, and so it makes it for a big pain in the butt. So the idea is this. I can't do that. I was really hoping I'd be able to. Oh wait, select. Oh, I thought I was gonna get lucky there. And erase. No, not so lucky. So anyway, my point, I was trying to be like the guys on the other videos that they highlight a whole area and it goes bye-bye. But that didn't work out too well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow through this really quick, or try to get it done as quickly as I can. Anyway, the point of my spiel here is this. Actually, this is my network requirement. You have, you've been given the IP address range. Now, it could be either based on public or private IP addresses, and it works for both. And now, if you're doing public, so let's say you can be given the 34.25.16.32 range. Okay, that's what you've been given. Slash, let's go 28. So 28. That means you have you've been given 16 IP addresses to work with. So that's your range. Now you have to divide that up over 6. Should I do it that way? I'm thinking now that you know what? Let's keep it simple. I don't want to confuse anybody. So this is what we're gonna do. You've got your public IP addresses. You want to set up your subnetting for internal. So what you want to do is you want to allow enough room for growth. So like you have let's see here. We're gonna go with the 10.0.0.1 1.0/24. Actually, I'm not even going to give it a slash. I want to do this. Select and move. Oh, that didn't work out too well. But anyway, that is 10.0.1.0. So what does that mean? Well, this is the IP range that you selected as your range, and let's say that, for instance, you have 30 branch offices. 30 branch offices with 116, or we'll say with 100 users per branch. Okay. Now, anybody that knows subnetting to some degree is going to be like, oh, I know that's going to be off the top of my head. Well, this is what you got to do. And I will write it out: 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. Oh, that didn't work out too well. It's got to be like this. So what we're going to do is this. Bam. That's that. I'm going to write on another one below that. Type in 128, 192, 224, 240, 248, 252, 254, 255. Let's go out just a hair longer. Bam. Another one right here. And we're going to do this. We're going to do a /25, /26, /27, /28, /29, /30, /31, /32. So, what does that mean? Well, this is the easiest way I could teach subnetting so that people understand it. So you can get a correlation as to what each thing is. So I've said that there's 30 subnet, 30 branch offices, which automatically tells you there's going to be 30 subnets. Okay, 30 network addresses that you need to figure out. 100 users per subnet. Well, how do you figure that out? You know, what I'll do is once you've done this, once we figure that out, I will figure it out another one. I'll give you another example. So what you're going to do is you're going to figure out based on bits. So once you figure out how many bits you need to borrow, okay, so this is the class C range, okay, that we're going to be working with. Class C range is actually, let me write these out. A is 255.0.0.0. B is 255.255.0.0. And then C is 255.255.255.0. And this guy gives you, if you don't use any addresses, you get 16,777,000 addresses. This guy's a /8. This guy is a /16. This guy's a /24. That's for that. When I'm talking this, that's what I mean. This guy has 65,535. Oh, 65,000. Sorry, 65,5. Get type here. 535. Probably would have been better off if I would have wrote this stuff out, but you know, such is life. This guy gives you 254. Okay. Now we're gonna put just to put a couple commas in there. This is the subnet mask of a Class A range. This guy right here is the subnet mask of a Class B range. This guy is a subnet mask of a Class C range with no subnetting done. This is the base network. If you're gonna apply all the users, that entire range, to one big subnetwork, that's how many users you would have per subnet. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to break it down so that you can use this. Now, automatically, well, I shouldn't say automatically, because it's not going to be that way. What you're going to do is you're going to take your range, so you need 30 subnets, 100 users. So I always break down by users, because no matter which way you do it, once you figure out your range and you know your increments, everything else fills in. I go by hosts because then I can be like, okay, well, how many users per building? Oh, 150. Well, going based on that number, I know automatically what my subnet mask is going to be. Okay, so what you're able to do, you know, let's say there's 1,000. They say, well, just break it down for 1,000 users. Well, I break it down for 1,000 users. I know around about what my subnet mask is going to be, how many users, and go from there. So what you're going to do is, I'll do a couple examples inside of this. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to be like, okay, well, assuming that this is a Class C range, so this is already in place. The 254 is already there, or I'm sorry, the 255 is already here. So it's already a /24. Well, you don't need 254 users per subnet, right? Everybody on track with me? This is how many users you need. This range right here gives you this many users. Okay, 254 users, but this slash notation /24 gives you that many users per subnet. Well, your requirement is 100. So obviously 254 is way too big. Now you take that 128, you see right there, that's how many users right there. Well, it's 128. That's half as much as this guy, but more than this. Well, okay, that's good. Can we get any closer? Well, 64 users right here. This is your bit placement. So you got a bit here, here. If all these bits are turned on, equals this. Okay, 128, 64, 32, 16, 84, 21, all add up to 255. If you turn on certain bits equals certain subnet mask range, certain slash notation, which incorporates how many users. That's basically the nutshell of subnetting. So if you have 100 users, and I'm going to take this guy and erase it because I don't need to fill all that in. So if you have 100 users on your per subnet, or per office, we'll say 100 users per office. Well, 128 is going to be definitely going to cover it. So you always want to go with more than what you need. So one there. So, well, is 64 going to be enough? No. Remember, this is how many users you will get with this turned on. Now, if you turn this guy on, this is how many users you get. If you turn this guy on, this is how many users you get. Everybody follow that? It's not this, and this added up. It's not this. Okay? This right here is going to be your subnet mask. So when you take this guy right here and bring it down here, it's going to be 255. I really should write that out. You know what? That's what I'll do. I will write it out, and when I get there, I will fill it in, and I'll explain what my action for that. So coming back here, this guy right here is this, and this added up. Okay, 224 equals 32 users. 192 subnet equals 64 users. A .240 subnet mask gives you 16 users. A 248 subnet mask gives you 8 users. That's how you break it down. This is the bit placement in the octet. This is the bit placement in an octet. If you start turning bits on, these add up, equaling this, gives you this slash notation, this number of users. Slash notation is how you will see it in the Cisco IOS when you're subnetting, or I'm sorry, when you do a show IP route or what have you. This is what you're going to have to type in. So, and as we get farther along, I'll explain how this stuff works. You know, when you're in the iOS, you know, if you type in a certain IP address, you have to do the associated subnet mask that it correlates to that it falls inside of. So once you figure this, once you determine that this is how many users per building, then you can turn on this bit. So that gives you 128. So which turns this in, and I will write this down here, give you 255.255.255.128. Okay, that's your subnet mask. Okay, everybody tracking? Okay, the beauty of video recording is you guys can't say no. Any questions? rriker82@yahoo.com. rriker82@yahoo.com. Shoot me an email. I'll be happy to, you know, record another one and explain this. So what you're going to do is the 128 equals 128. That's the only one that's kind of a give me. 128 users, 128 bit / 25. So that's going to be your thing. So now you know that it's 128 users per subnet. So now you know that for every range beyond that, that's what it's going to equal out to. It's going to be 128 would be your range. So that's going to be your subnet. It's also going to be your range. So what you're going to do, you're going to take this. I'm sorry. Find your range. So it's going to be 10.0.1.0 is going to be your base range. Enter, it'd be 0.1.128. Enter. Now, here's the kicker. And this is why I kind of picked this one. Actually, I didn't. It's just working out this way. 255. Okay, you see that right there? 255. Well, 255 and 255. Or I'm sorry. Back up the train. 128. All right, and 128. Any guesses what that equals? 256. You're right. So, 256 is obviously bigger than 255, right? Well, yeah, of course. So, what happens? Do you just add this and get 256? No. You can't do that. What do? Well, because you're dealing with a Class C address. Now, this goes with any one of them. The minute you use more than the subnet range allocation available to that that class, it automatically increments itself up one subnet. Meaning, this turns into this. Whoa, I didn't get that. Well, it took me a little bit to figure that out too, but I'm doing this out of the gate so you people, sounds so informal, can see that. So 10.2 or 10.0.2.0. What's the next one? 10.0.2.128. These are all legitimate. Well, as soon as I put the dot in there, they're all legitimate IP ranges. Now that's 4 subnets. I'm not going to do all 30 because obviously that would take too much time. But that's the that's your ranges. So I'm going to do a few more. 10.0.3.0, and I'll fill in the gaps here in a second so you guys can see what I'm talking. 10.0.3.128. So what you're going to do here is through 10.0.1.127. That's going to be one range. Then through 10.0.1.255. I had to think there for a second. 10.0.2.127. And it keeps right on going. Because the fact you're using 128, and how 128 is half of 255, well, 256, but because you can't use the base network, and you can't use the broadcast, it has to be this. So what'll end up happening is, where'd my thingy go? Oh, there it goes. Click off. This guy right here is your base network. Okay, this is your base network. Okay, this is your broadcast. 127 is your broadcast. Alright, because that's the last usable IP address in that subnet range. So this is your subnet range. Okay, this is your last usable host. So I should be able to. Oh, love it. So that's your last usable host. This is your first. So your subnet mask will be this. So it'll be 10.0.1.0. Sorry, 1.0, and this will be your subnet mask. 255.255.255.128. That's how it will appear when you do your subnetting, or I'm sorry, your routing. If you do a static route, if you want to encompass the entire range, that's what you're going to want to do. So that's how that works. So now let me I guess I'll have to erase. That's how that one worked. Now that took me a few minutes to do. I'll try to speed it up the next time I go through, and we'll do a class. We'll do a class C, but keep it inside the 254. So that's how that worked. And you would keep going down until you fill all of them in, and then you would take each range and apply it to each building. Okay. So next one we're going to do is we're going to do actually a real simple one. We're going to do 6 networks, okay, and we're going to do 30 hosts. No, it says 180. Yeah, that'll work. So you want to keep it under 254 in this case. So what am I going to do? I'm going to erase this guy, and I'm going to grab my pencil, and I'm going to explain how this works. You could borrow bits, okay. Well, if you're going to borrow bits for your network, you're going to go from from right to left. This is networks. Networks. Actually, I should. Right. Well, we're going to do that. Well, go. If you're doing for networks, for network, you're going to go this way. So we're going to write that in there. There we go. For hosts, you go this way. Okay, so if you're doing 6 networks, I mean, because it works both the same way, just a different process. If you're doing hosts, you're gonna do, or I'm sorry, if you're doing networks, you're gonna go 1's not enough, 2's not enough, 3's not enough, 4's not enough, 5's not enough, 6. Okay, so you're gonna do 6 networks. You're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's gonna be your increment. Okay. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that. You're gonna add up this, this, and this. This is how you borrow your bits. So you got your 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Look, I've been writing zeros for a while. 0. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn these guys right here will all be. You're gonna borrow 6 bits to make your network. Right. This is why I don't like explaining the network side of it. So what you're going to do is, these are going to be your hosts, I should say. Hosts. You're going to take these bits. These are all going to be hosts. You're going to take 1, 2, 3. Turn these guys on. 1, 2, 3. So now this is turned on, this is turned on, this is turned on. So it gives you this subnet mask right here. Alright, so you got this subnet mask, or I'm sorry, this slash notation, this subnet mask. This is your range. Now that's doing it network. Now let me explain it via hosts. Oopsie. Oopsie. Too far. I have a lot of RAM on my computer, so my cache can get kind of full. Just killed my F. And what did I say? It was 6 and 30? So 6 and 30 hosts. So, anywho. So, now. 6 networks, 30 hosts. So, for me, I always do hosts because it's easier for me to figure out. Not to say it's easier, but it's just the way I do it. So, it works the same way either way you do it. So, same answer. I just do mine this way because it's easier for me to figure out. So, now, oh, by the way, note for those of you that are certification people. When I go into an exam, this is the first thing that I write out. Actually, I go down to /16. So I can get the class B. I write down each subnet mask that it's going to be, how many users, so that when I'm getting a question, I can look right at it, and you know, it's right at the top of my head. I can look at it. I can, instead of having to sit there and take 5 minutes to figure it out, do the subnet masking, and then do the ranges, I can easily fill in the ranges and be like, okay, I feel like I'm pretty good at math, so I can fill it in pretty quick. So this is what I do. I write this entire portion right here out of the gate. This helps. So I take, in this case, we're going to erase this guy because we don't need him here. So we got 30 users. Okay. So 30 users, 128 is too big, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad somebody's paying attention. So this is too many. This is too many. This is still technically too many, right? Well, is 16 enough? Nope. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, that's how you... Same concept as this. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I just did it in reverse order. I went via hosts. So now I know my subnet mask is going to be that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase this. And actually, this whole thing. This is going to be my subnet mask, 255.255.255.224. That's my subnet mask for this entire section. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in my ranges. So, oh, and by the way, 32 is my increment. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to be, and we're going to do. Not going to do the 10. We're going to do the 172. So it's the 172.16.0.0. Okay, that's my net subnet. That's my IP address that I want to use. So we're going to do 172.16. I could type .0.0 base network, right? What's my next range? 172.16.0 dot. Any guesses? There's my increment. Remember? 224, 224, 32, 32, 32. Very good. 172.16.0 dot. What's 32 times 2? There you go, 64. 172.16.0 dot. What's 32 plus 64? You sure? 96. Now, I know the answers to all these. I'm trying to be somewhat comical, but I apologize if I'm just boring you. 128, so on and so forth. Actually, no, let's do all six ranges. 172.16.0 dot 128 is 32 is no guesses. What is that? 164? I have to get a calculator. I can't think off the top of my head. I don't do very well with big numbers. So, type in 128 plus 32, 160. Oh, look at that. I'm horrible. 160. One more, right? Yep. Nope, that's it. That's it right there. That's 6 ranges, 6 subnet masks. So back here, we're going to do 172.16.0 through 31. Well, actually, I should say. What's the last IP address you can use before you hit 32? Very good. I know, I'm trying to teach at the same time. 0.63. Oopsie. Bring this out a bit. Next is 172.16.0. 1 second while I fill. There we go. End dot 95. Next is 172.16.0 dot. I did it again. Let's do this while I'm sitting here. 0.127 and 172.16.0 dot 159 and 172.16.0 dot 32.191. Sorry, I knew that one off the top of my head. So these are the ranges you can use for each building. So building 1 would get, or well, in this case it'd be 6 networks, 30 hosts. So you would, if you're doing a single building, each interface of a router would get a separate IP address, and this would be the subnet mask. Or I'm sorry, this right here would be the subnet mask you would apply to each one of those. Okay, does that make sense? So that's how that works. Now I'm going to do a class B address, and I'm going to throw you through a loop a little bit. This one's going to be kind of big, so don't freak out. I'll walk you through it. It's actually really, really easy to do. Control Z. I guess that's the end of my area. Now, everybody knows this right here. I'm gonna throw this out here real quick. That the 10 network, the class A, I'm gonna keep it in order, is 10.0.0.0 through 10.255.255.255, right? And then the 172.16.0.0 through the 172.31.255.255. Let's bring this guy out here a bit, and then the next one down is the 192.168.0.0 through 192.168.255.255. Just so you guys have a reference to everything that's out there, the IP address ranges that are valid and stuff like that. So my network will be, we're gonna roll with the 172 network. That's 16.0.0, and then our network requirements are gonna be, I need let's go 30 offices at 1,000 users. Oh my god, that's a lot. Well, fits inside of this guy. Is that right there? 65,000. Remember, fits inside, so I know it's going to work. So what we're going to do, I'm going to actually add in a section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this guy right here, move him can I move this over here? I think I can. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something like this. We're going to do 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. And we're going to stretch it out to this over here. Well, Rob, why are you doing it that way? Well, that's actually how it's done. And then we have 128 and 192.168. Hey, look at this, 192.168. That 224, that 240, that 248, that 252, that 254, 255. Right? This is a /16. Yeah. Actually, I need to add in. Actually, I don't need to worry about that because it'll fill in. This is a /17. This is /18. This is a /19. /20. /21. /22. /23. Why does that not equal out? Oh, I see. See, that's why sometimes doing recordings can kind of hose you up. /17, because technically a with the 128 turned on, that's actually /17. So /18, /19, /20, /21, /22, /23, /24. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this guy and get it a little closer to this guy. Okay. So, in the interest of programming, when you have this all set up right here, this is going to take you from a single host to, well, you know what? Well, it's no, we're fine because we don't need to use a /16. So we're our 30 networks, 1,000 hosts. Well, you know what I should do? Well, actually, I'm still right. Theoretically, I'm still right. Let's select this guy. Actually, let's. Actually, I threw myself off when I wrote this in here. How do I fix that? Control Z. Okay, we're just gonna retype this in real quick. Bear with me, folks. So we're gonna do a 128. Or I'm sorry. We're gonna do a. What is that? 254. Oh, let's do home. Tab. Home. We're gonna do a 254 be a 512. Actually, no, let's do 256 so that I keep it even. Home. Tab. We're gonna do home would be 1024. Home. Tab. Home. And then we're gonna do 2048. Home. Tab. Home. Oops. We're going to do 4096, home. We're going to do an 8192. We're going to do home, tab, home. 16385. 4, I think. Don't quote me on that one. Home, tab, home. And we're going to do 32,768. That number will come in handy when you get into switching. And then 65535. So we're going to take this guy, bring it over here a bit, drag it out. Ooh. Oh, that's perfect. So we're going to go end, enter. Then we're going to type in 128, 192, 224, 240, 248, 252, 254, 255, 221, 240, 252, 254, 255. Why do I feel like I missed a number in there? I didn't, because there's 8. I have a 9th number in there. I see what I did. I see what I did. I see what I did. I'm actually wrong on this. There we go. 32. I goofed. I do make mistakes, folks. I am human. So, pardon me for that. I didn't mean to spook anybody. This is actually 256. Well, actually, it's 255 as well, but 255. It actually is 255, but 128. It equals this out too. But I know I might be throwing some of you guys off, but I apologize for that. And this guy is a /17 /18 /19 /20 /21 /22 /23. Oh, I see what happened here. Slash. Okay, fine. 24. That looks even. Anyway, I should have stopped the recording for that, but I wanted to make sure that I was doing it the right way. So, like I said, 1,000 users, but I had to write this in so that you guys would be able to see this. Now it's been a while since I've taken an exam, so I'm a little rusty on that type of stuff. So, but anyway, 30 hosts or 30 networks, and we have 1,000 hosts. Now this is where doing it by host comes in easier. So, what we're gonna do is obviously 1,000 hosts is going to be bigger than any of this stuff right here, right? So, because obviously 512 doesn't even come close. 1,024 is the only thing that comes close to covering that. So, this will be our subnet mask. This will be our range. I'm actually cutting to the chase because of how much time I took. So, what I'm going to write in here is I'm going to write in the subnet mask and where it's going to be placed. So, it'll be 255.255.252.0 will be your subnet mask, or 1,024 hosts per subnet. So this will be your range, and so this is going to be a little difficult for some people to grasp because of the fact that you're jumping so many subnets. Because actually you're jumping 4 networks. Okay. So the range will be as this. It'll be 172.16.0.0 out of the gate. Then it'll be 172.16. And 1,024 is 4 networks, would be 4.0. Because you can't put, 1,024 in there. Why is it 4 networks? Well, real simple. This guy right here, the /24, is 255 users, 254 users, right? Of course. So you take that 255, all right, and you double it. So this guy right here, and two of these. So this entire section right here is one network. So let's click off that. Actually we'll hit Control Z to get rid of that, and I'll explain what I mean by that. At this line right here, and I will take and draw a line for this guy right there, just so you guys can see what I mean by that. Drawing a line here, this entire area right here is one network of 254 users. If you take 4 of these networks, okay, so this network range right here, this entire section right here, take this number right here, or actually I should say this is 256 users, right, /24, and you double that. So this section right here, this 512 to 254/23, encompasses 2 of these. All right, because obviously it's doubling. So that's one thing about subnetting, is the power of 2. Then you get to 1024. Well, if this range is 2 of these right here, then and this right here, or I'm sorry, this right here is 2 of these. That's going to be 4 of these. Everybody follow that? So it's just multiplying by 2. This times 2 is this. This times 2 is this. So that's where you got to figure it out. So what ends up happening is it's a 4 network slide. That's what your range is going to be. So it's going to be 172.16.0.0, 172.16.4.0, and then 172.16.8.0, 172.16.12.0, 172.16.16.0, and so on and so forth. Let's do one more. 172.16.20.0. Okay, so where do I get? So we're going to do 172.16.3.255. Well, where do you get that? Well, the last usable range inside of that would be 255 before you hit 4.0, right? Because 255, 255, that's what it equals, okay? Because you can't use the because it shows 256, but realistically they don't count 256 as the actual number. It's 0 through 255. That's why you get the base network is 0, 255, 0 through 255 is 256. So you come back down, and this next one is 172.16.7.255 and 172.16. Is at 11.255. So you would take these ranges and put them to each building. Does that make sense? Now that's a bigger range. Now here's one thing that I mentioned: 0 and 255 in a Class C arrangement cannot be used as usable IP addresses because it's the base network and the broadcast. Well, out of curiosity, if you took 172.16.1.0, or you took 172.16.2.255, are those usable hosts? Well, think about that for a second. Before you answer, think about this. Where does it land? Is it inside of this range? Well, yeah. So, going based on what you know, 172.16.1.0 and 172.16.2.255. This would be in a Class C arrangement would be considered the base. This one would be considered the broadcast, right? Well, yeah, in all intents and purposes, you're right. Not when your range encompasses a bigger area than that. Your range encompasses 172.16.0.0 through 172.16.3.255. these two both fall inside of that, making them usable IP addresses. You typically wouldn't do that, but you could. Nothing's stopping you. So what you would leave those out, or you'd leave those as a DHCP wouldn't do anything with them, or you would assign it to a server or what have you. Maybe you just wouldn't use them, period, because you wouldn't want to throw anybody off. So those are usable IP addresses. Now, one thing I want to do real quick before I finish up, because I've given you 3 different examples, and that's pretty much Class A is the same way, except for you just add an extra 0 in here. You would start at the 10, 0, and work your way through, and through this, and you'd have a really big range. So I won't even do it Class A because that'll confuse people, and I don't want to confuse you any more than you already are. Now, on the CCNA, one thing you might see is a question. Well, I don't want to break non-disclosure, so to reverse engineer, because it might ask you a question like, I have 172.16.1.63, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.192, and the 172.16.1.1 is the default gateway. Now, going based on what you know right now, is this a usable, or okay, the scenario could be user is trying to get to the internet but can't. And this is what you do after doing an IP config. This is what you find. So is this IP address right here right? Is this subnet mask correct? Is this default gateway appropriate? These are all questions that you have to know how to answer. Now, I'm not breaking non-disclosure because of the fact that I'm not taking a question off the exam. I'm giving you a real-world example as to what I deal with every day. I get up, I can't get to the internet. Well, okay, I check the obvious, and once I check the physical, is it connected, turned on, plugged in, all that type of stuff. Nothing's broke. Then I go to the next step. Okay, well, what's your IP address? I start with the simple stuff first. Anything that I can fix out of the gate. Maybe it's a DHCP mismatch, or anything like that. So you look at this. Actually, let me do this. So we have IP address here. We have subnet mask here. And we have default gateway right here. Is this IP address legit? No, it's not. Well, why is that? Well, 192 is this subnet mask right here. This is the range. Right? All right. Well, if that's the case, then the range on that, this is the first subnet, the range is 0 through 63. Right? Because you can't use 64. Because that's going to be the next subnet. Next subnet is going to be 64 through 127. Okay? So, assuming you're using IP subnet 0, so 63 is the broadcast. So obviously 63 would not be correct. This would be the broadcast. You'd have to change that to something between 1.2 and 1.62. So that's where that would come in. So I'm going to give you one more to reverse engineer and figure out. It should be pretty simple for you guys because you guys are really smart and you can figure this stuff out without having me to tell you. If you know the answer to any of these questions as I'm doing them, feel free to, shoot me an email and be like, you were wrong, this, that, or the other. Now here's another one. It's going to be a little more tricky. Is this a valid default gateway? 172.16.1. We'll go 34, and the 255.255.224 you know what, I'll add in home, enter. This is the IP address, 172.16.1.44. Okay, now I did at the top of my off the cuff. Now, is this? Now the question was, is this a valid default gateway? Well, if this 224 is right here, /27, 224 is a subnet mask. There's a subnet mask right there. 32 is your range. So my 0 through 31, 32 through 63. Okay, that covers everything I just asked. Now, 32 is your base network, right? This is your base network. This is your broadcast, right? Well, in this case, 34, it's inside, right? Correct. It is inside. Is this a valid default gateway? Well, technically it could be. It could. But for the sake of learning and for the sake of networking fundamentals and basic understanding, your broadcast, or I'm sorry, your default gateway would be 33. Dot 33 would be your default gateway. 44 is correct. 224 is correct. So 33 would be your default gateway because it is one address above your base network. So 34, that's kind of a trick question, but I wanted to point it out. So here's the next one. Last and final question. 172.16.1. We're going to do 16. 172.16.1.1. 255.255.255.192. Question: is this a valid subnet mask? Well, let's think about it. Dot 16. Actually, you know what? I'm thinking about that. You're thinking, yeah, it could be because it does fall inside of that. So, okay, that was my bad. I didn't think that went through. So we're gonna let's clear this off. Let me come up with a better one. I'll find one that's completely way off, and you guys will be like, oh, well, that's obvious. So we're going to do 10.10.10 10. Let's think here. We're going to pull a hat trick. We're going to do 232. And then that's going to be our IP address. 10.232. You know what? Let me, before I screw myself up here, let's find one that's not going to be so difficult. 128. No. I'm going to find something higher than that. We're going to do 165. And then 10.10.10. Sometimes it's kind of hard to come up with off the top of your head. 165. I'm doing the math in my head as we're going through this. 248. Or 161 would be the IP error for that one, and then 255.255.255.224. Is that a valid subnet mask? Anybody? No takers? Okay. Well, the answer is this. Um, it would not be, because I went based on this guy right here. So, 32, 64, 96, 128, 160. Oh, it would be. Hey, how about that? I should have picked a 128, because that definitely would not have been. I was trying to think of it off the top of my head, but a 128 would not be a valid subnet mask for this. But you're not going to get away with that when you're going through. But these are all off the top of my head type of situations. So that's basically where it sits. I hope this has been informative for you. Well, actually, before I let you go, this is a little longer than I would like to run with the video, but subnetting is not something easy to figure out. So, like I said, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, something you would like to see, what have you, rriker82@yahoo.com. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.